Wednesday night. Y'all know how I do. I am grateful to be here. Um, Thank you for that too. Listen, we've made it to another one, so we're gonna do the regular thing, and then I'm gonna introduce my guest or our guest rather. I need you all to let me know. Whoever pops on first, let me know if you can hear and see me because we are actually live. We're actually live on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, we're live on YouTube, um, Facebook, Twitch TV. So yeah, we're live, y'all. We are live. So let's see. Changing the title, so y'all just bear with me. Just we're good. And yeah, so here we go. All right, so I was trying to save that. So when I get somebody to come on, let me know if you can see and hear me. I got three people watching. Let me know if you can see or hear me. Let me hit the chat real quick, and then I'm going to introduce our guest. And she is a superstar. I don't know why she playing like she's nervous. She is not nervous. But
Nervous
either
I
way,
am just a little bit. Just a little bit. It's easy in session, but it's different when you broadcast. You say
yeah.
action and I go, whoops, wait, hold up.
Oh man. So listen, the title. I don't know. I forgot to change the title on here. It is talking about talent. Let me see. So I need to make this public. Stay with me, Key. So
Yeah.
we're gonna get this thing together. How's everybody? Dolores. Was it Dolores? Dear, I see you, baby. Hey, let me know if you can hear and see me. Because I want to introduce the guest. I want to introduce, but I don't want to just y'all see my lips moving and you can't hear me and see me. So let me know. Let me know.
Somebody say, let's go, Clint.
Let's see. Did somebody say anything? Key, I'm quit calling you that.
I
Um,
just saw a chat box, an inbox, or something of that nature.
did somebody say anything?
Hadn't heard
Read.
anything.
Y'all just let me know if y'all can hear it and see me. Then we're gonna get started. And I also have to make this public. There's the title. Just have to make it public.
Robert did say that we can hear.
They did.
Thank you, Robert. He did. He typed it. We can hear.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, so we're good. I had to make this public as well. So again, welcome to Clint Speaks. It's another Wednesday. Hey y'all, without further ado, listen, we have a special guest in the building, y'all, because listen, y'all know how we've been doing. We've had people on here to talk about, building your credit. We've had people on here talking about, how to diet and what to eat, the proper exercise. We've had people on here talking about, trying to prevent the youth from going to jail. We just had different people and different specialists to come on. And during those times, in between times, I'm talking to people, people are calling. I have family members, friends, people that I'm good with that's dealing with grief, dealing with the loss of loved ones, dealing with depression. I've dealt with it in the past. I've had people that dealt with anxiety that's dealing with that, and I didn't know how serious that was. And I needed somebody to come on that specializes in that. I know I can. We can preach all day. I can preach all day. I can minister all day. I can talk all day. But at the end of the day, we need somebody that specializes in it. So I'm looking like, who can I get? And I'm telling y'all, man, we got somebody who gonna bring it tonight as far as that knowledge, and that's gonna help us as much as she can. So without further ado, y'all, we got Lakeisha on. We got my girl on. Listen, how are you doing tonight?
Ooh, I'm stressed. I've been using my coping skills all day long. I've been doing some deep breathing, been doing some tapping, been doing some things to just kind of calm my nerves because therapists are not exempt from feeling some of the same feelings that everybody else feels. We
Gotcha.
just sometimes be able to kind of do some of the skills that we learned and we've been training with for years to kind of help ourselves. And so today I've been doing a lot of that, a lot of deep breathing and a lot of acceptance and it's okay. I'm here.
Gotcha.
I'm here.
Y'all, Nikisha Royston, we was just talking right before we came on, and Nikisha is, I know some of y'all Fraser Rams gonna be mad at this, but she is a Tresvant High vet alumni. Yeah, Nikisha Royston in the house. So listen, without further ado, Nikisha, if you don't mind, tell the people what you special, because I can give the term, I can't give the correct terminology. You can. So what is it that you
Yeah.
specialize in?
All right, so I am a therapist. I've been doing this now for about 5 years. Been working in the Memphis area doing social services and kind of social worky work for about 20 years now since I graduated high school and graduated college. Been kind of in this field doing this type of work. Um, Started back at DCS a long, long time ago. I'm not gonna tell y'all how long. And then just kind of progressed forward to doing different things. Never really thought that I'd be any good in micro, but my clients say otherwise. So I'm gonna go with that.
Gotcha,
I'm gonna go with that.
gotcha.
I work with women who experience stress, anxiety, postpartum depression, lots of different, things that you wanted to talk about today, including grief. And I'm ecstatic to do the work that I do.
Wow, wow.
Excited to serve my community.
Awesome. So, Nikisha, if you don't mind, there was a couple of questions that I sent to you. Um, can you go ahead and just tackle that first one for me? Because there are some people again that are dealing with grief, like the loss of their loved one, and some people don't know how to get over that. So let me ask the first question. Just let me start here.
That'll work.
Is there a such thing as getting over grief?
No, I don't think that there is a such thing as getting over grief. I think things just get different. They don't necessarily get better or getting over it. It just gets different. And so you're able to better cope, better handle the grief as it hits you, better able to understand what it is that you're feeling, better able to kind of identify it as you move through the process and the stages of grief. There's 5 stages of grief, starting with denial and then going to anger and then bargaining. And then after that, you get like depression, and then after that you just kind of get towards the process of acceptance. That doesn't mean that you don't go through these stages fluidly. Like you can skip over some of them, going straight to acceptance, and then regress from acceptance back down to bargaining or even denial.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing really as getting over it. It just gets different.
Because I do feel that is really disrespectful for people to look at somebody who's lost a loved one. Let's say they lost a loved one in February of this year, and come July, they're looking at the person like, okay, you still, come on. And I just think that's kind of, I don't know, I hate to say rude, but it's kind of disrespectful. But like you said, you never really just get over it. You just get
I
better.
never
But
really get over it.
I mean, do you agree, Keisha? I mean, I think that's kind of disrespectful. We should never tell
Yeah,
anybody that, but that's me.
or at least rude at the very least, right? So sometimes people just forget how hard grief is. People forget how hard, anxiety, depression, or any mental health disorder can be to deal with. That includes like the families that have to deal with people who are actually going through these particular mental health conditions or just emotional disturbances. People just forget that, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And so sometimes we hear, and society has kind of told us that, pull your socks up, pull your bootstraps up, come on, get it together and just let's move on. And that's not really how that works. So it just gets different.
Yeah.
Doesn't get necessarily better or necessarily, just going to go away. It does take time. And sometimes that time is longer than someone else might, envision that it'll take for them. It's a personal process. It's a personal journey. And sometimes people just need that support and they just need some
Yeah.
time some time to heal.
Yeah. So my wife had a question. She put this on the post yesterday. How do you deal with the anger or all the different emotions that comes with grief?
You just have to feel the feelings. A lot of the times people want to ignore that they have these feelings. They classify them as negative. They classify them as bad. They also don't want people to judge them for still being in a state of grief, right?
Mhm.
And so they try to hide. And I equate that to when people have certain issues going on with them, diseases or things that they don't want other people to know about, so they just decide not to get treatment for it, and so it hurts them that they're hiding something and they aren't able to get the help that they need because I don't want anybody to know that I'm hurting. I don't want anybody to know that I feel like this. And that's what happens a lot of time when people aren't able to talk about the grief that they are encountering on a daily basis or the things that they're feeling. And people just like, okay, come on, enough. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of you talking about it. I really just want to move on. I want to be just your friend. And a lot of times people turn to their friends to be their therapist, and instead need to turn to a therapist to help them to process through all of these things. They need to turn to a therapist to help them to be able to process the feelings, to process the emotions, to process what's going on, to make sense of it, and also help give them those coping skills that they need in order to be able to just function in their daily living.
Mm, gotcha. All right. Kimberly Board Sims, she said that when we are anxious or depressed, it can change the way we think, feel, and act. Dealing with the tough times can be hard, but we're not alone. Is there a major difference between depression and anxiety?
Ooh, there is a difference, right? So, anxiety is more of the worry and more of the just kind of being cautious, being super hyper focused on like what's going on and not being able to control things, right?
Mhm.
And depression typically is like things that have gone on that you can't control, and you're just kind of thinking about like, why am I feeling like this? And so you typically look back and like, okay, I feel depressed about where I am right now. I'm feeling depressed about other things. The depression symptoms usually is like lack of motivation, persistent sadness, right? Being overwhelmed.
Mhm.
You can also have those in anxiety. So a lot of times people that present with depression also present with anxiety as well. There's some brief assessments that we can do, the PHQ-9 and the GAD-7, which will allow us to kind of determine how those symptoms might be showing up in a person's life. A lot of times people come and they may be experiencing more depressive symptoms over the anxiety symptoms. Or sometimes it can be flip-flopping. They can be experiencing more of the anxiety over the depression. But again, a great therapist, a good therapist can help you to be able to kind of decide which ones is most affecting your life, and then how to begin to attack those issues and problems using coping skills and just helping people to process through whether it's grief or process through trauma or whatever is going on in their lives.
Gotcha. I back in the day, Nikisha, when I was dealing with depression, I dealt with it for years. I didn't know what it was. I just called it feeling sorry for myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I got older, I remember one conversation. There was one instance. I mean, and it was embarrassing. So I was a supervisor, and I'm standing up talking to another supervisor, and we had another friend, he and I, and we just standing up conversating, Keisha, and I'm laughing, and we're having a good time. We just joking, and I shut down. It was like, and my friend, he said he didn't mean any harm. He was like, "Man, what is wrong with this cat? He was just laughing. Now he's sad." But he didn't know I was dealing with deep depression then. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I've seen a client of mine, insurance, have well, he didn't have an anxiety attack. He was about to have one. And it was like he was losing his breath. And I'm like, man, what is going on? It's, a friend of his said, hey, he's having an anxiety attack. And I'm like, wow. So I'm not a
Yeah.
therapist, but I kind of saw the difference in the two. One of them I shut down. I mean, one is shutting down from what I saw, and the other one was like having an attack, like, and it was like they were having an asthma attack or something of the nature.
It's possible. There's, people look different when they are going through the different things.
Okay.
Depression is typically like, I don't like necessarily can get up and be motivated to brush my teeth, wash my face, even go to work. I just don't feel motivated. I feel unmotivated. I don't have the energy. There's like a real lack of energy, or lack of inability to sleep, or sleep throughout the night, or inability to fall asleep. What else? Kevin Wells just came on and distracted me. I know
You know, Kel.
the people, my people that know me, my colleagues, they know I don't really like to do this face-to-face thing and getting on camera. I'm not all that. Yeah, I'm not hot for it. But I told him I was going to try to, step outside my box and do something a little bit different sometimes. And so this was my very first time, trying to do something different. I'd rather stay behind the scenes and in the office. But yeah, I know Kevin. Welcome,
Good
Kevin.
dude. Good dude. Love him.
So
Yeah.
it just looks different. Depression does do that to you, and so anxiety is more so like the just the overwhelming feeling of being anxious about the future, being anxious about what you can't control, over ruminating or overthinking, and just it kind of shuts you down. Sometimes it can paralyze you actually, just because you're so worried and so concerned about either doing the wrong thing or something going wrong or feeling
Wow.
unsafe. There's a lot of different ways that these symptoms can manifest themselves.
Wow. Okay. Mitch Logan said, if I'm correct, there are 7 signs of grief and depression. Can you please give us the most common ones? And if possible, in your opinion, how should the significant other be recognized through this, that the person's anger or silent, going through when the person is going through anger and withdrawal?
Woo, that's a hard question. So, like I was just saying, there can be many different signs and symptoms. It's not just, common 7, 9, or 10. There are some that we assess for in our assessments, such as the PHQ-9 again. But some of the things that, like, again, we see are lack of interest in doing things or just being unmotivated. Being hyper focused on thoughts or thinking the same thing over and over and over, overthinking, feeling hopeless and helpless, a excessive feeling of sadness and crying a lot happens to be some as well. Typically, isolation, just pulling back, shutting down, and not wanting to deal with the world. The anger and the guilt is there. All of these are things that can show up if a person is experiencing depression, especially if it's from grief. Suicide ideation and self-harm. Those are some other things that can happen, and it's kind of at the extreme end, but it does happen. I recall having a client who came in, and we were working through processing the trauma of losing a loved one, and the only thing she said that she could do, and even though I was encouraging, hey, let's journal, she said, I just can't journal. I don't know what to do. I said, well, how you feel? She said, I feel angry. I said, right there.
Wow.
She started with one word, angry, and was able to progress from angry in a number of sessions, and just did a full turnaround on exactly how she was doing and how she was feeling, and the things that she could manage and process. Some of the other things we worked on, during those sessions might have been setting boundaries, because a lot of times when you experience grief, people don't know what to say or how to approach you or how to deal with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they just either go the opposite way or tell you, it's just going to take time. They tell you those things, those cliche things that people like, I just hate when somebody say it's just going to take time or get over it. We work on some of those things, especially in the early sessions where we're trying to just figure out if a person is about to return back to work, what are some things that a person can put in place to help them to transition from staying at home and kind of isolating themselves to being back at work where everybody knows what happened. And at that time, now I need to talk about it. And I'm not ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
I just want to be left alone.
Yeah. Because for me, back when well, let me ask you this, because you're the expert. Is it possible for a person to be depressed and not know it? Grieving and not know it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And grief comes in, various ways. It doesn't just have to be over the loss of a person. It can be a loss over a thing, including relationships, right?
Mm.
We grieve relationships all the time. It's like, oh, I didn't really lose a person, but I lost a relationship. I lost, a friendship. I lost a significant other. I lost someone that I cared about in my life that meant something to me. And, these things happen all the time. People lose pets. There are lots of things that we lose and we don't think about it as grief, even though that overall sadness is there. We're like, okay, I don't really know what's wrong with me. Get you a good therapist that can help you figure it out.
Okay, so now I got to ask you. You just brought me to a question myself, and there's some more questions.
Uh-oh.
Now I don't think this is going to be difficult. So a person can grieve over losing a relationship, and the person is still living.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
It happens all the time, right? You say, "Oh, I'm having relationship issues. Every time I get in a relationship, this happens." Or I was with this person for 8 years, 10 years, 19 years, and we went our separate ways, or we just not talking anymore. I just realized that it just wasn't a good fit for me. And then people just like fall apart. They go their separate ways, and you grieve that. That's a loss for you.
Oh man, I never looked at it like that. I mean, because everything just gets
Absolutely.
classified in my head as depression. As far as that, okay, you just depressed, but no, you can. I didn't know you can grieve
You
while
could be
somebody's still
experiencing
living.
grief. Yes.
Oh man,
Including pets. Don't forget, you can
right,
lose
right.
pets or pets lost. Um, may not have died, but they definitely maybe not be yours anymore. Maybe they ran away
Yeah.
or something of that nature.
Wow.
Grief can happen in a number of forms.
Key, Nikisha, and y'all forgive me for calling her Key. I'm used to calling her Key, but Nikisha.
That's okay.
Okay,
For those that know me by Key Bass,
yeah.
hey.
So, what kind of spouse? Just looking at Mitch's question, for those that are married, how until they can get, let's say, and I'm just throwing out a scenario. Let's say a spouse recognizes a spouse going through some type of anger, depression, anxiety,
Hmm.
and this is on a Saturday. It just hits. And they can't get to a therapist until that Monday or Tuesday. What can a spouse do as far as spousal support, and that for those couple of days? What can they do to be there for 'em?
So you just said the key word, right? Be their support. Be there for them. Ask them what they need. Because oftentimes we don't know, or people who aren't, not experiencing the grief themselves, we on the outside, we're like, how can I help? What can I do? Just tell me something. We don't necessarily do that,
Yeah.
but we should. We thinking in our head, what can I do to help this person? But we not asking the person what to do. We just do what we think we would want done if we were the grieving person.
Mhm.
If somebody was trying to, console us, or somebody was trying to help us. Well, if somebody tried to help me, then I would want this. And so boom, that's what we do for the person that's grieving. But that's not what they want. So the best thing to do is just to ask them, like, how can I best support you in this moment? Sometimes that's leave me alone. Sometimes that's give me a hug. Sometimes that's, hey, just talk to me. Just sit here and be with me. Sometimes that's silence.
Wow.
And so whatever it looks like for that particular person, that's what you need to do.
Wow. Somebody said you're nailing it. Again, I
Thank
don't
you.
know why you was nervous. I knew you was gonna nail it. I knew you was gonna kill it, Keith.
I don't know about that. Not quite the specialist, but I do do some work in. I dibble dabble a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask. So let me ask this question. Natasha said, "Why is it so hard to talk to someone about grief? Because everyone don't understand."
Well, who you talking to? That's the question. Who you talking to? Again, we talked a little bit about just a few minutes ago when we got started. People always want to talk to their friends, right? But the friends aren't therapists, and sometimes your friend just want to be your friend.
Mm,
They don't necessarily want to be your therapist, and you can burn them out because that's not what they do. Plus, they don't always have the skills to help you. They don't always know what to say. They don't know what to ask, and so again, it goes back to how can I best support you in this moment?
yeah.
And the friend may be okay for that, but you're right, you can't talk to everybody about grief because they just weren't trained for that. Come see me.
I will say this because I know somebody's going to ask this question. Well, let me ask Ray's question first.
Uh-oh.
Let me ask his question. He said, "Will I ever stop grieving about the loss of a loved one?"
That depends on you, right? What are you willing to do? What type of work are you willing to put in? Sometimes people come to therapy and they're not really ready to deal with the feelings. They just want to come in and they just want somebody to fix it.
Mhm.
Where therapists don't fix it. We help the client, the person, the patient. We help them to be able to fix their own lives. Therapists are just, we kind of like help facilitate the conversation.
Gotcha.
we not the fixes. There is no magic pill. There is no magic wand. There's no magic formula. Um, they are there to do the work themselves, and they have to be willing to put in their work and do what needs to be done. Again, sometimes you just won't ever, get over it, right? You might just feel different, be different.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Um, let's see. Just looking at some of the questions here. Ben said he lost his best friend about 3 years ago and didn't realize it affected him. He stopped following
hmm
sports, especially fantasy football and basketball. I've joined a fantasy
hmm
football league for the first time in 3 years. Wow. Wow. Latasha Lachey, she said it's hard. Kevin Will said, Amen, preach.
very hard.
Yeah. Um,
It's not easy work. Now, I will say that it's not easy work, but some of the things that you can do is to, um, find that person, find that therapist, find that person you feel comfortable working with, because the work is not hard. It's even harder with somebody you're uncomfortable with. It's even harder with somebody that you don't quite identify with. So the key to making it just a little bit easier for yourself is to find somebody that you can work with, find somebody that you're comfortable talking to, because otherwise it's like sitting in an interview, and nobody wants to be in an interview about their life when they're talking about grief, or they trying to figure out like what's going on with them. Where did this depression come from? Where is this anxiety about? You want to get somebody where it just kind of feels normal, kind of feel casual, feel like you're talking to your best friend.
mm, gotcha. Okay.
So
Uh,
get you a good therapist, and you one step closer.
gotcha. I don't want to mispronounce more. Is it more Kisani? She says sometimes you have to allow yourself some grace. Um,
Absolutely.
wow. Amos said, let me see, never have a person that's going to lie to you. You know what? That's a good point. Because when you answered Ray's questions, like how much work are you willing to put in? Now, somebody may feel, man, that's kind of harsh, but as a therapist or someone that's there to help you, you have to be honest with them, and sometimes you have to be a little stern for what I'm guessing.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, a
A
little
little
bit.
bit,
Yeah,
yeah.
you do. You want to be honest. There's different types of therapy, and somebody will have to tell you like what they're looking for. And so, one of the very first things we do in a session is to kind of start talking about why are you here.
I got you.
And in those sessions, you want to be realistic, because if you're gonna lie to your therapist, then what's the purpose in going?
Got you. Got you. That makes sense.
And so we kind of set ourselves up for that. And sometimes, the therapist that you're going to for the first time just may not be your person, may not be the person that you need to, go through therapy with. It might not be the person that needs to take you on this particular journey. And maybe you need to find somebody else, depending on exactly what it is that you're trying to do. If you want to do supportive therapy just helps you with dealing with the grief. It just talks about what's going on now. Typically things go back, especially when you talk about depression and anxiety, it goes back to talking about some of the things that happen in childhood, some childhood issues, or some childhood trauma, some past relationship issues, some things that have always been a part of your life when we're looking at personality disorders. And so sometimes we have to go back and look at that.
Wow.
And if you're ready to do that work, again, that's hard work. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that it's easy, but it can be done. It can be done.
Wow. Now, this next question, this is the one I wanted to ask you. De'Ara is actually
Mm-hmm.
asking this question. She said, is it possible to grieve later? I was holding my grandmother's hand when she passed 10 years ago. I don't think I have dealt with that as I have losing my father 2 years ago. So let me add to that. So she don't feel like she has dealt with the passing of her mother as she has dealt like with the passing of her father. Now, I was going to say my grandmother passed in 2019. Um, my best, my closest person to me outside of my best friend French at the time was my cousin Clint. Me and Clint, I don't know if you remember Clint, both of us played ball at Tresman. We had the same first, middle, last name all the way down to junior. Clint was in the hospital and I boo-hooed. But my grandmother, who I was also close to, Key, she died in 2019. Clint passed in 2021. My grandmother
Mm-hmm.
died at the end of 2019, and I have yet to throw any fits, no tantrums. I don't even know if I just really cried. Like but I was hurt by that. But what is that like? And I'm not trying to hold tears in because my wife is like, if you need to cry, cry. And I'm like, but I don't feel it. But I know I miss her. So what is that?
Mm-hmm. Suppression. You suppressed all those feelings, and one day they got to come out. In some ways, some things that you're dealing with, it has to come out. Those feelings, because you can't keep feelings down. Feelings are at the bottom of the volcano, right?
Okay.
And at some point, that volcano is going to erupt. And so your wife asked about like just the 10-year thing. At some point, all of the feelings that you feel about things, even if it's triggered by a current stressor, right? Say somebody else dies that's really close to you, and it just starts bringing up feelings about everybody that you've lost. Those feelings have to come out. And so earlier we were talking about some of the things that need to happen in order for people to kind of get different, right?
Mm,
Not get better, get different. And so
mm,
one of those things that I said was we have to acknowledge the feelings that we have. And that's very true in understanding why you didn't, deal with those feelings from 10 years ago, why you didn't deal with one person's death versus the way you deal with, another person's death. Those feelings still have to come out and they still have to be addressed. And at some point,
wow. So even if you're not trying to suppress it, you can be suppressing feelings.
yeah,
Okay.
that's one of your defense mechanisms. And people
Wow.
don't always know exactly what their defense mechanisms are. But defense suppression is a form of defense. And so you could be suppressing for that reason. And, if you ever get to the point where, hey, I feel like I want to talk about this, I feel like I want to let this go, those feelings and those emotions are going to come out.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, Latasha says she's even tried to talk to a therapist, but they always want to put you on a pill, and I don't even like Tylenol. So here's my thing with that. Here's my thing. I key those commercials. I'm not talking about a therapist. I'm just talking about those pill commercials with. Have you ever tried Xyloxfen if you're going through
Uh-huh.
depression? How does a pill go like you? I mean, it's like you putting something that look like a Tylenol in your mouth, and 2 hours later you happy. Like I don't believe that. Like you know,
Yeah, I don't believe it either. So I'm gonna say I'm right there with you, right? So I feel like medication is only 50% of the work, right? It just kind of gets you there to help you to want to do the work.
gotcha.
You have to do the other 50%. Um, Yeah, I really can't say that I know therapists. Latasha, if you know therapists that want to put you on medication, it's not something that I I myself subscribe to. I will say, that there are some times where I encourage clients and patients to go and just talk to somebody about possibly doing some medication evaluations just to see if that might help them to stabilize, especially if we are continuing to do inpatient, or we kind of right there at the borderline of suicide ideations, or other things that's like, we kind of pushing it, and you might need a higher level of care. If you might need a higher level of care, then it's possible that medication is really needed. I think that, nurse practitioners, maybe doctors and psychiatrists might, push meds a little bit more, but I think therapy is really focused on doing the work, helping you through the process, CBT, DBT, trauma work, EMDR, things like that to help you to process through instead of pushing and focusing on the medication. Unless one of those things that I just said happens, and that's just like we're about to threaten towards a higher level of service and higher level of care.
Wow. Hey everybody, for those of y'all that just tuning in or have been with us, I just this is we're talking about anxiety. I don't know if the title is up, but we're talking about dealing with depression, anxiety, grief, and we have Nikisha Royston, who is a therapist who specializes in helping people to deal with that. Also, I just put her link in the open chat there, so in the comment section. So her information is there. So again, welcome to Keisha Royston. Everybody that's tuned in to Clint Speaks, welcome. This is what we do. I'm a people person. This is not about me, but I'm a people person. So I want to try to give people as much help as I can. And that's been an area that, these three areas is, oh man, it hurts. I myself, again, Keisha, I dealt with depression. And I think one of the things, I'm getting back to you now, Keisha. So I think one of the things
Oh, you're fine.
that hurt me as far as the time it took for me to heal from that was I didn't want to tell anybody I was dealing with depression because I was embarrassed to tell people that. I didn't want anybody to know. It
Absolutely.
was like, man, people go think, especially when you're a Christian, you don't want to deal with tell people, look, man, I'm feeling this way one minute, and another minute I'm feeling that way because the first thing they'll say, oh, you got different spirits in your tail, boy. It's like I don't want to go through that. I don't want people laughing at me. I done been laughed at. That's why I'm so what people call silly now. It's like because I had to be that way, Key, because people were checking me, so I had to learn how to do it back. So telling somebody that I
Yeah.
was depressed back in the day, it was like I was embarrassed. So, how often do you deal with that with people who are just too embarrassed to say, "I deal with anxiety, I deal with depression. I don't want people to think I'm crazy and feel sorry for me dealing with grief."
Yeah, I think that's very hard to deal with, right? Because of the judgment of others. It's typically why we hide how we feel. It's why we hide when we grieve. And oh, I don't really want people to know because everybody think that I should be done got over this by now. It's been 2 years. It's been 3 years. It's been extended amount of time, and people keep looking at me like get over it already. I think that again, it takes time, and it also takes courage to go and talk to someone about your feelings, right? So when people come through the doors or they call me and they say, "Hey, I think I need some help," I embraced it, right, wholeheartedly, because it took a lot for them to pick up the phone to call me or to send me their text messages or to email me and say, "I think I need this is what's going on." It's not easy to do, as our audience has already stated. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do the work. It's not easy to admit that we need the help, and it's not easy to admit that we need to call somebody else outside of our family or outside of our faith. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, you should just pray about it. I come from a family that, says that we should pray about it. I come from a family that says that, prayer heals our thing. And I come from a family that says that, if you going to pray about it, don't worry. And if you're going to worry about it, then don't pray. And I don't know what to do. They don't even know that I'm in therapy
Wow, wow.
because I'm too scared to let them know what's going on with me.
Mm.
And then we wait until a person is at their point of breaking, right? And then we say, well, why didn't you tell somebody? Uh, you didn't give me the space to feel safe enough to be able to confide in you, to be able to confront my feelings, to be able to say how I really feel. You
Wow,
weren't there for me. I couldn't call you. I couldn't write you. I couldn't tell you. I didn't feel, like I could connect with you. You turn me down. You turn me away. And so that's just how hard it gets. And so when people call for therapy, first thing I want to know is how can I help you?
wow, awesome, awesome. So, um, I'm gonna get to some of the comments, but I need to run this by you, Key. Um, for some people, oh, look, well, let me ask: when you're dealing with patients, have you seen, or should I just say, in general, just dealing with grief, depression, anxiety? So there are different levels. So there is a level to where you can get to where you're hitting trauma level. You're hitting. Have you caught
Yeah.
people at different stages? Like, wait a minute. You may say within yourself, "I wish you could have came to me a month ago or 2 months ago." Have you ever seen? Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah. So, sometimes you catch people like right as it's fresh and, they kind of at the 6 weeks or the 2 weeks or something just happened. But oftentimes, like you said, people will negate the way they feel. They will, just hide it or deal with it or try their best to deal with it as best they can until they actually do break and they end up, needing some professional assistance, whether they need to go inpatient, whether they went to see their doctor and things just weren't right. Their doctor was concerned about them, or they just decide, okay, I'm going to call a therapist and just kind of see if I can go in and see what happens. And they could be at any level. Then again, if you recall when we get back at the beginning of this session, we were talking about like the different stages of grief that are to be had, starting with just denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and the actual acceptance of it. People can spiral through that multiple times, even in a day, even in an hour. They can go through all of those emotions at the same time. And so as they move through that back and forth, multiple times per day, multiple times per week, multiple times per month, it just begins to kind of build up on them.
Mm.
And then they need to see somebody, and so they could be at any stage at any minute.
Wow.
They could be at let's pull this person inpatient, and then we can do some relaxation skills, and they can be like, oh, okay, cool, I can deal with this. We can do a safety plan. Oh, okay, so no, I know how to deal with this right now. I know how to deal with this later on. I know what I need to do to get the support. And some clients I work so closely with, especially as their grief was fresh, that we come up with coping skills immediately. Like, this is the safety plan. I've even pulled in family members to help support, and to allow that client to tell them, hey, this is what I need, because they sometimes feel like I really don't know how to tell my family that this is what I need. And so I'll bring them into a session with that person, where I have that person to, I think of creative stuff. So I think outside the box a lot, and we'll come up with something that's going to help that client to kind of figure out what they need in that moment, and how to express that through assertive communication, which is another coping skill that I help people to work on, so that they can tell people what they need and get their needs met.
Yeah, gotcha. Tasha put in the comments, she said, it'll be 8 years next week for my son, and there's never a day that go by that I don't be messed up and cry alone all the time. Um, I think he would agree with me when I say this. Tasha, get with Nikisha. Seriously. Because I'm looking at the comments, and I'm seeing how you all are responding to her. I'm glad she's here. I know y'all glad she's making me feel comfortable. I don't even go through. Thankfully, I don't go through depression anymore. But I've been through it. That's man, that is something, man. Like, that stuff can hit you at any time. But anyway, get with her. Key, you can respond if you want to, but I just want to tell her, get with Nikisha. Get with Nikisha, Tasha. Uh,
I'm available.
Ray Austin said, I've written a lot of other people's life story, and it seems I've made their burdens and grief my own. And tonight on this
Mm-hmm.
live has made me realize I need some help. Wow.
Take care of it, Ray. Take care of it.
Awesome. Get with her,
Make
Ray.
sure you
Get with
take
her.
care of yourself.
Key, do you see that men are sometimes kind of shy about seeking help?
Absolutely. And then when they come in and see a pretty little gal like me, they be like, wait, I don't want to be seen.
Yeah,
I can't tell her what's going on with me, because I'm feeling kind of shame. I'm feeling that embarrassment. I'm feeling
like they're less of
guilty.
a
I
man.
Yeah, yeah. But I will say that men are starting to, come in and see us, and come in, go see women, go see men. They just starting to catch on to doing therapy. And a lot of times, especially in our culture, we say, hey, well, that's not manly. That's a sign of weakness. Only X, Y, and Z person need this. Only blah 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 person needs this. Like, I don't need any help. I don't need anybody to help me through this. And actually, we do. Actually, you do. Because the person that you might be going to, or the person that you want to be, again, is you're going to explode. The emotions have to come out. They have to come out some type of way, and it's best to have them to come. Exactly, Kevin. Brothers are coming to therapy.
Mm,
They're coming to therapy,
that's
and
good.
it's a good
That's
thing.
good.
It's a good thing.
Benjamin Lewis said, I believe I suppressed my feelings over a year until I heard this song by Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton, Can't Make Old Friends. I was able to talk about it afterwards, and I realized how I actually felt. Julia Lowry said, there is shame. There it is. There is shame attached to clinical
That's
depression.
shame.
We tend to hide our going through. Doing this, we only withdraw further into depression, when in fact we should reach
Isolation.
out for that lifeline. Wow. Pressure
Absolutely.
bust any pipe. Amos said, if things keep happening to you, you are the problem. Um, get out your own way. Rod said it ain't no joke. So let me see. I can truly say a good therapist plays a big part of getting through grief, especially if they are there from the beginning. Wow. Talking about those different stages, Key. Um,
The different stages.
yeah. So, dealing with grief, let's say, because I'm seeing people that have lost children, and I don't downgrade anybody losing anybody. And what I mean by that, Key, I don't look at, okay, you lost a parent, you haven't lost a child, or you lost a child, you
Mm-hmm.
haven't lost a parent, where you lost a parent, you haven't lost a spouse. I don't look at it like that, but some people may, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, but I hurt for all of them, because anytime a parent outlives a child, that hurts, because that's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of backwards. But dealing with that, Key, dealing with the loss of a spouse that was laying there for years with you,
Mm-hmm.
30, 40 years. I, I mean, I can't ask how does a person get over that, but oh my God, like that's I don't know. That's just
Yeah, I
hard to,
don't think that you do.
yeah.
I don't think that you get over it. I think that again, it just gets different. A lot of times, like you said, with the spouse, you've been there 20, 30 years or so. You think that, if I begin to accept this, remember the last stage of the grief process is acceptance. I think if you begin to feel like, if I get towards a point of acceptance, then I'm not loyal, I'm not committed, it never happened. You erasing the last 20, 30 years of your life, and that person, right?
Mm,
Instead of saying, okay, you know what, let me move forward. Like, I can't move forward because I don't want to forget, I don't want to let it go, I don't want that to not have been a part of my life.
mm, gotcha. I know you answered this, that there was difference between anxiety and grief. Is there a difference between grief and depression, or is that all under the same umbrella?
Well, I mean, they can be a part of grief, right? Anxiety and depression can be a part of grief. As you experience grief, you experience the symptoms of anxiety and depression. And then it could be that outside of grief, you don't have any anxiety and depression. And then depression and anxiety can be a part of, themselves, or a part of the grief process as well. So it just kind of depends on the things that are happening for each individual. Again, it's an individual process. It takes time to heal. The journey is what the journey is, right?
Mm.
And you have to be open to going through that journey alone, without the input of others, and feeling what you feel, and dealing with it in a way that's best for you. You can't deal with it the way that Clint wants you to
Yeah,
deal with it. You can't deal with it the way that your mother wants you to deal with it. It shows up just differently for different people.
yeah.
It's an individual journey, truly.
Like Kevin Wells said, like how widows sometimes struggle with dating again. I know that can be hard. I know that
Absolutely.
can be hard.
Absolutely.
Um, Losing a child, like Latasha, she put in the comments. My heart goes out to everybody that lost someone. Um, I can't imagine that. Um, De'Ara said losing a parent compared to losing a grandparent or friend was totally different for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, that individual, it's the individual journey. And then just a lot of times relationships play a role in that, right? How close were you to this person? Or,
Yeah.
were you expecting a death? Like, or, was this a sudden death? Sometimes those things play a major role in your response to a person's death.
That's true. I find that true. Again, um, my grandmother, I was close to her, but when he left or before he left, it's hard for me to talk about. If you notice, I don't talk about him much, because I do. Even right now, it's like stop, stop. But
Mm-hmm.
that was my cousin, and as a matter of fact, we was second cousins. So, but him going through, and here's the part: we didn't speak for a couple of few years. Don't know why. Both of us big headed. Okay, one ain't gonna call, I ain't gonna call. And then that happened. So it's like I'll never know, what was it, Clint? What did I do, man? Like, I can't talk to him. So that hurt me. So you're right. That was my cousin. I cried my heart out
Yeah.
about Clint Key, but I haven't grieved about my grandmother. Like, it's been suppressed. So that I agree with you on that, and I can concur to that. Um,
You want to open the portal?
I will.
Come see us.
For
Come see
real.
us.
I'm for real. I talk to my wife at times, and you know, and here's the thing with me, and I'm glad we're having this conversation real quick. I see some comments. Um, there are times where I just don't want to bother her with that. Now she's open. There are times where she don't want to bother me because the thing is, we understand, and don't nobody take this the wrong way. Y'all know how I am. I'm not the type that's trying to hurt people on purpose. I'm not even trying to hurt you. But life must go on. If Clint was here, he would say we called each other Hoss. Hoss, man, come on, Hoss, man. Listen, I'm good where I'm at. Keep going. And you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like sometimes I have to. I don't want to say hear that, but I have to make myself like, okay, man, I can't just sit around like. But that's hard, Key. But anyway. Let's see. De'Ara said all were unexpected. Yeah, they were. She said her best friend was killed in a car accident. Her grandmother
Mm-hmm.
was diagnosed with cancer August 6th and gone September 21st. Then my father passed unexpectedly in 2021. So it's been rough. So it's been
Yeah.
rough. Uh,
I think those unexpected deaths put a little bit more pressure on you because, like you said, it's unexpected for one.
mm,
Those you don't get to say those last things. You don't get to. It's just, yeah, it's different. It's harder because you weren't expecting this person to be gone. Whereas when you have a death that follows a a terminal illness or somebody's on hospice, you understand that this is happening. You're preparing yourself as you move through. Not that you're gonna be totally prepared or ready for it at
yeah.
all, but it's just a little bit easier than those unexpected deaths where people just you feel like they were snatched out of your life. Something else that I wanted to bring up definitely around this is, the thought of faith, right?
Okay.
And so people begin to question God, and
Wow.
that can also begin to build up some anxiety or some depression because God, why you let this happen to me? And I know that society is not going to allow me to say that I'm mad at God,
Mm,
but Nikisha might let me say it.
wow.
Nikisha might not judge me for saying it.
Key, did you
So
did
there,
you I know you said
there.
you've seen, I think you said you've seen Clint Speaks before, but have you heard my story?
Now
I'm
I
not
have
gonna
not.
go through it, but you just hit on something that I told people. I remember when I was going through separation and divorce, so I had to move back home with my parents. So my whole life was in one room, Key, and I'm not gonna go through the whole story. But I remember
Mm-hmm.
telling people, because this is a major part of my story, how I was upset with God for a long time. I mean, a long time. And you just made me think about that. Like I said, I'm not gonna get into that, but that's man. Key, yeah, we're gonna man, listen. Hey, y'all, you gonna have some folks to come see you after this one. Mel said, can you address my comment earlier about anxiety for being a people person that can't go to anyone and tanks? Oh, I see what she's saying. So, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Mel Mac. So I'm a people person, but sometimes the people person needs somebody too. And can't
Yeah.
go to anyone and tank.
So you the strong friend. You the strong family member. You the one that's got it all together, and nobody even knows when you're hurting, or you just don't feel like you have the support that or the people that you need. So like sometimes you can call somebody, and before you start to get ready to tell them, because you just built up the nerve to call and tell somebody how you feeling, or to bring it up in conversation, you're like, hold up. um they start telling you what's wrong with them or what's going on with
Oh,
them or what the problem is today and how they need your help. So then you got to put your face back on. You got to put the mask back on, and you got to be what they need you to be
wow.
instead of being what you need to yourself. So, Mel, what I'm going to say to that is take care of yourself first. You
Mm,
can't be somebody else. Oxygen mask if you can't put your own oxygen mask on first.
wow. Wow. And Key, I think
Self care, boundaries, and grace are at the pyramid, at the base of the pyramid, for coping skills for me. And so, if you are able to do those three successfully, then we can move on to taking care of some other coping skills and helping you to be able to do the things that you need to do to take care of you.
say that again, Key, because I was talking while you was talking. Say that again.
I'm sorry. Self care, grace, and boundaries.
Mm,
they at the very base of the pyramid. So I talk a lot about coping skills when I work with clients, and making sure that they leave each session with some coping skills, identifying how to manage different situations that they might have, different feelings that they might have, and making sure that, hey, we addressing each issue as it comes up. And so self-care, boundaries, and grace are at the base of that. If you aren't able to do those, and those are the things that I'm going to focus on first, because if you're not able to give yourself grace, can you feel like you can do and be anything else to anybody, right?
Wow.
You're like, oh, I can't really, I can't. I'm really hard on myself, but I let everybody else get away with everything else. So they can cross boundaries. They can continue to violate boundaries. They basically can get away with anything, because I don't know how to set the boundaries to teach people how I want to be treated, to tell them how I want to be treated, to show them how I want to be treated, which makes it hard, because now you just people pleasing, like Latasha said.
Wow.
So I think that was Latasha.
Wow. Key, if you don't mind, because I'm not looking at it, if you don't mind, just if is there a number? Like if in case they missed the website, can you put that in the private if you don't mind? And
Sure.
yeah, and I'll put it in the chat. Now, for y'all that are tuned in, it may go to my Clint Speaks page. Um, y'all supposed to be following it anyway. And it may go to my Clint Speaks page. Um, so I want to put this in here. For people that may have missed what I put in there earlier. And it may go to my Clint Speaks page. So go there if y'all don't mind. This is her number. I put it in the chat. Go to Clint Speaks. You may have to put at Clint Speaks in the comment to go to my page. But either way, um, Key, I'm gonna hold you for a couple of more minutes because I appreciate you.
I'm here. Take your
I
time.
appreciate this. Hey, Mimi.
Mel, put that oxygen mask on. I see Mel put in the comments that putting the oxygen mask on.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good thing to do. Put yours on first.
Wow. And that is not selfish.
That is not selfish.
Not in a negative way anyway. And that was something that I've had to learn over the years. Um, and I love being the go-to person. I love when people ask me for advice, but there are times to where, man, sometimes I need comfort, and I'm glad
It
that
gets heavy. Yeah, it gets heavy,
yeah,
and you need somebody to go to. And that's one of the things that I recommend, right? Find the safe person, the safe space, the safe place. Find that peace where you're going to, get what you need from that person. And sometimes you just have to identify a couple persons. I have a good friend. She actually got on my case because I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this, not even my mother. Just because of the nerves and the anxiety. And so when she saw it posted, she called me and she said, "Why you didn't tell me?" I said, "Nah, couldn't really do that. I'm running through some anxiety." So she said, "Okay, well, we're about to pray about this." And so thank you, friend. I'm not gonna call your name out. I'm not gonna call your name
yeah,
out. But I think that's what you need to do. You have to find your safe place. And so sometimes I can call her and I can say, "Hey, this what's going on. I just need to vent. I just need to say this." And she'll say, "Hey, you want me to respond, or you want me to just support you?"
wow,
And that, like, having just that will allow you to be able to begin to communicate and open up, right? You don't get any questions, you don't get any pushback. If you just call to vent, if you just call in to be heard, right? And then sometimes you need somebody to give you some feedback. So you need to tell people again what you need.
right, awesome, awesome. That helps me opening up, because oh my God, and that's another thing as far as you know dealing with depression, anxiety that I've seen. Again, I'm not the therapist. I'm not the specialist. I'm just saying from my experience, that trust factor. Like, man, to talk to somebody and let them know, man, I'm going through this. I'm feeling depressed. I'm having a different mood. You got to find somebody, like you said, that you can trust too. That
Yeah.
because people talk.
Yeah, they do. They do. So I work with clients again who I encourage to journal. And sometimes that journaling doesn't look like what you think it looks like. A lot of times it's the Keisha, I don't want a journal. I don't want a journal. Journaling doesn't ever put me more in my feelings, makes me feel sadder. There are different ways to journal, right?
Mm,
So one, I teach people how to do voice notes. You in the moment and you can't get home to your journal or you can't get to your person. We carry our phones with us everywhere, right?
hmm.
This electronic leash we can pick up and just go to do our voice notes. And that voice note is specifically yours, unless somebody has the password to your phone, right? But other than that, it's private. It's yours. You can use your phone to write written notes and journal that way. You can also use various apps that help you to identify what you're feeling in a particular moment, or to help you to use some coping skills. So like we have a lot of things at our tip. Again, I think outside of the box, very creative with doing therapy. Incorporate many different modalities so that we can get the best outcomes.
Wow. I didn't know, and I should have known. Apps. People can use.
Apps,
Wow.
apps.
Okay.
There are lots of apps. I do a group, right, and they credited for me coming on here actually because last night they hyped me up. You the best. You got this. You got this. So, all right, I'm holding y'all responsible if I bomb. Um,
You
but
awesome,
yeah,
man.
they
You awesome.
they they helped me out and got me here. So we talk about apps all the time, anywhere from the Calm app. I also use YouTube some in my teachings and my trainings and things that we kind of doing. I see somebody put in the chat using affirmation apps, right? Positive affirmation goes a long way. Again, Clint, you were saying that sometimes I just need to hear Clint's voice. I need to hear him saying it. Those affirmations are the same way. Sometimes you gotta just put a couple affirmations in different places. Write out some affirmations, hide them from yourself. Put them in the dishwasher, put them in the dishes, put it in the car. So you open up the console. Wow, whoa, I am great. Like there's
Wow.
that positive confirmation you need for the day. Put them beside your keys. So you go to get your keys and you're like, oh, okay, so got my keys. Oops, got a note to myself. Look how awesome I am. You are beautiful. You can do this. Just breathe. A lot of times we
Mm,
just need to breathe. That's where that anxiety is. We just need to breathe.
wow. Wow. This awesome, man. This um y'all listen. Seriously. I'm asking y'all the viewers, do not let this be one of those. This is awesome. This is good information. I'm gonna come and see you and let it just slip on tonight and you don't make a move. Go ahead and act on it. Get with her. Nobody is trying to get your money and no, it's not even about that. As a matter of fact, Key, you've been doing this for 5 years. What made you get into this?
Woo. Like I said, I've been in social services and social work type jobs for about 20 years,
Wow.
and I've been doing therapy on the micro level for about five. Two of those being while I was in school, and then three being under the guidance of other therapists here in the area. And we have some amazing therapists in the area.
Wow.
So even if a person doesn't come see me, I hope they seek out some of these therapists that you see. I can't take everybody, so definitely there are like Kevin Wells calling you out. But yeah, I've been doing this about 5 years now. 3 of those years, and I just got licensed independently, so I'm starting to do some independent work as well.
Gotcha. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Key, the therapy guy, it just hit me. Kevin. Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hey, this is what I'm saying, y'all. You got two of them. You got Key, you got
There
Kevin.
are
Oh,
there are a few. There
um,
are a few.
oh, listen. I'll be around Kevin every weekend. We play ball. Um,
Okay.
yeah. But you, Kevin, people, please contact them. Please contact them. Now, Key just did this, so Key ain't gonna feel slighted if I do this. Kevin, put your information in there too, man. Like she said, she can't take
Go for
everybody,
it.
and I can tell by her
Go
spirit,
for it.
she ain't hating. Hey, Kevin,
Go for
yeah,
it.
put your information in the chat. Um, we need to start seeing people, y'all, and seeing a therapist is this does not mean you're crazy. It does not mean you're crazy. You know what? I think people, a therapist would tell you you crazy if you don't come see them. Go see a therapist.
Eh, I have a different view on crazy altogether. I think it was born this way. Like I just feel like, hey, I'm crazy. So what? Like I accept it, I own it, and it can't cause me any harm because I already admitted it and then accepted it. I'm in a good place.
Got
I
you.
know what's wrong with me. I know what my problem is. I know what happened to me.
Yeah.
But when you say, hey, I'm good, everything's so what are you really saying? You saying you don't need any help in life? Then you that strong person and you're like, okay, so why is nobody helping me?
Mm,
Well, you the strong person who admitted that you don't need any help. And I used to be that person.
wow.
I used to be the one that put on the face that said, hey, I don't need any help. I don't want to talk to anybody. And now I'm like, you know what? I do.
Yeah.
I do need help. I do need somebody. I do need people. I do need a village. I do need social supports. I need these things in order to be because we humans, we social beings,
Yeah.
and we need people.
I don't know if y'all heard, but the thing that I like about Key, thank you, Kevin. If you cannot see it on my personal page, go to Clint Speaks in the comments. Their information is in there. Um, um, One of the things, Key, um, that I dealt with, I didn't want anybody to see me cry, not even my wife. You know, in any
Mm-hmm.
relationship I've been in, I didn't want nobody seeing me cry. But with De'Ara, my wife, and she was like, "Man, what is Clint? Like, I'm your wife." And I'm like, "No, come on, man." And then next thing you know, Key, your face making all these expressions, you can feel it, and everything, next thing, next thing you know. But hey, I said all that to say this, y'all. I'm gonna be a little comical, but in all seriousness, y'all get the help you need.
Yeah,
Seriously, seriously. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, there's nothing wrong with that. It's all good. They're here, and even Christian, if you're spiritual, whatever your spiritual belief is, whatever God you believe in, I do not see them being mad because He has people in place on earth to help you. You know,
absolutely,
first natural, then spiritual.
absolutely.
I always say, Key, if a man is hungry, you don't preach to him first. You get him something to eat. So,
Right,
everybody ain't gonna go to a church. Everybody's not gonna pick up a Bible, but you have Key, you have Kevin. These are two of the people that I know. I know them. They're gonna do you right. I know this. I know this. Um,
promise you.
being trust, he said, is so important. Friends that talk a lot all the time may not be the person to confide in. Talk to someone quiet. Wow. Wow, that's what's good with
Yeah,
Thursday
that's
because y'all not you're bound to be confidential.
we are unless there are a couple things that are in place um, that makes us mandated reporters, and so if those things happen to come out in therapy, those are the only circumstances and reasons in which we will break confidentiality. It's also something that we talk about early on in therapy. So before you can even begin to speak to me about what's going on with you, that's something that I explain. This is my confidentiality. Also, I can't guarantee any results. Um, but you're here. This is the informed consent. This is how I operate. This is what we do. This is what you might can expect from therapy. Do you consent to continue working with me?
Yeah.
So under when I go through all of that, you understand that hey, this is confidential, it's private. If you see me on the street and I'm your therapist, I won't even speak to you. You can speak to me, but I can't speak to you.
Got
And even if you speak to me, I won't discuss anything that has to do with therapy. So it's like it never happened. It was never said.
wow.
There's a lot of things that I hold in confidence for a lot of people. So
Awesome. Awesome. Man. Key, you've been a blessing. I ain't gonna lie. Nothing less than a blessing.
I try.
I know I was led to you. Um, um, the information that you gave, some of the stuff I didn't know. So again, y'all, I'm encouraging y'all. I'm asking y'all. I don't beg, but I'm begging y'all. Go get the help you need. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, grief, depression, what have you, suicidal thoughts. Um,
Absolutely.
talk to them. Talk to Key. One time when I was going through depression, I thought about it. It was a quick thought, suicide. It was a quick thought. And I snapped
Hmm.
out of it. But I'm grateful I did. But I feel sorry for those that have attempted it, that have gone on through it. But y'all, we don't have
Hmm.
to go through that. We don't have to go through that,
Not
y'all.
alone.
Man,
Not alone. You don't.
wow. Wow. And again, y'all, there are people that do care about you. This is her field. This is Kevin's field. Um, we care about your well-being, y'all. Listen, for those that are listening, I'm gonna say this real quick, Key. Um, for those that are still watching, it's a lot of things podcasts can talk about. And a lot of them they just strictly deal with relationships. Um, y'all see what we're about. This is not about Clint Speaks. Y'all, Key's not here just for show. As a matter of fact, before I brought her on, I'm saying, Key, I'm finna hit the live button. She's like, okay, I'm sweating.
Just running in from a session, like, hey,
Yeah,
wait, oh wow, am I ready? Yeah, I'm ready. What my stuff? All
yeah.
right,
But
okay.
you don't see her on camera much. Um, but tonight she did this for y'all, man. So I know us, especially black people, we think everybody's just trying to get a dollar. Y'all, listen, there are specialists here for you all that specialize in stuff like that. So I'm asking y'all, just go give her a try. Give Kevin a try. Men, if you don't feel comfortable talking to Key, go to Kevin. Women, if you don't feel comfortable talking to Kevin, go to Key.
Go to key.
Hey, it's enough to go around. And if y'all don't know, if y'all don't mind when you go to them, please let her know that it was from Clint Speaks. So I can feel
That
like,
would be
hey, that
very
I'm
helpful.
making a difference too,
Yeah,
y'all. I just want to make a
yeah.
difference. Um, did y'all have any more questions? Because we're about to let them go and let them enjoy that night. Um, but if they do, I'll just send them to you, Key. I'll send them
That
to you.
will work.
Well, Key, hey,
Um,
thank you for coming on tonight. I know you're not much of a camera person, but I honestly, all jokes aside, I appreciate you for doing this. I'm all about helping the people.
you're welcome.
Um, so either way, y'all, thank you all for tuning in to Clint Speaks. It's been another beautiful Wednesday. Key, you be safe, you be blessed. Y'all be safe and be blessed, y'all, and we out.
All right.